Yeah, Shalom Israel.
Yeah, sure.
We are the I.S.U.P.K out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commandant GEN.YAHANNA. We have been teaching this truth since 1969 that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Before we get into the class, right, we just like to remind everyone, right, that we have classes all through the week, right? On Mondays, we have the history class, right, which is done by Officer Makar, Priest and Officer Makar Kobal, right? On Tuesdays, which is tonight, right? This class is usually done by Priest and Officer Sowapiala, right? I will be holding on the class tonight. I am Priest and Officer Maikwa, right? On Wednesdays, we have the Wednesday night law class, which is done by Priest and Officer Makwayak, right? He does the Wednesday night law class. On Fridays is the Qadash, right? Or the Holy Tongue, right? The Hebrew tongue, right? This class is done by Priest and Officer Yakad, right? And also we have the Sabbath service on a Saturday from 10 a.m., right? Which is also done by Priest and Officer Yakad and Priest and Officer Sowap Ya'ala, right? All the classes during the week from Monday to Friday runs from 7 to 9, right? And the Sabbath service is done at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. On a Sunday, right, is our scripture breakdown class, which is done by Priest and Officer Galawan, right, which is the head of the Trinidad and Tobago camp, right? He does the scripture breakdown on a Sunday. If you have any questions that you would like to ask about the Bible, you can feel free to text it in, right, on the YouTube or the Facebook channels, right? I.S.U.P.K Trinidad for the YouTube channel and I.S.U.P.K Trinidad Facebook, and it will bring up the channels, right? The classes, again, it runs from to 9, right? From all the classes from Sunday to Friday runs from 7 to 9 p.m. and on a Saturday is our Sabbath service starting from 10 a.m. right? So feel free to tune in, right, and get to understand your history, your culture, right, your language, right, and who you are according to the Bible, right, as thus say the Lord, right? So with that, tonight is our Brotherhood class, right, and we will go straight into it, right, and we're gonna get into the topic brotherhood and what is brotherhood, right? So we will start it off. Officer, your card?
Yeah, okay.
Give me Ecclesiastes, the last chapter, last verse. Ecclesiastes in the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. Tonight we're gonna understand what is brotherhood, right? And how not having brotherhood prevents the black, the Hispanic, and the Native Indian man from coming together, right? So like, let me just catch up with you. So like 12 and 13, Babakasha.
Yeah. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
All right. So, so we're going to hear the conclusion of the whole matter, right? What all this Bible is talking about, right? Go ahead.
Fear God and keep His commandments.
Fear God and do what?
And keep His commandments.
Right. So they say the conclusion of the whole matter, right, is for man to fear God and keep His commandments, right? Go ahead.
For this is the whole duty of man.
Right, and it's saying now this is the whole duty of man, right? This is what one man's supposed to focus on the face of the earth. Now, when this scripture is laid out, right, the Christians do not understand the scripture, right? And usually they would say, well, the Lord done away with, right? So we're not supposed to be keeping no commandments, right? And stuff like that, right? But according to the Bible, we supposed to fear God and keep His commandments. But when I say fear God and keep His commandments, what I mean, right? It will be difficult for somebody to understand. So a lot of fake Christians and fake Israelite groups and things like that would think about just keeping the law for keeping the law's sake, right? Right. So someone who keep the law, I don't eat pork, crab, and lobster, right? And that is just it, right? And do understand that it goes a little deeper than that, right? And we're gonna get some more clarity upon the topic, right? So we're going in, go to Matthew. We'll start at Matthew chapter 25 and verse 31. Babukisha.
The book of Matthew, chapter 25 and verse 34.
31, Babukisha.
Okay, 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory.
Right, to say when the Son of Man shall come in his glory. That is Christ, right? When Christ shall come in all his glory, go ahead.
And all the holy angels with him.
And all the holy angels with him, right? They said 200 million angels will be coming back with Christ when he comes to revisit the earth, right? Go ahead.
Then shall he then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory.
Right? They say at that time you'll be sitting on his throne of glory. All right? Because the earth is his, right? Go ahead.
And before him shall be gathered all nations.
Right? And all nations on the earth would be gathered before him. Go ahead.
And he shall separate them one from another.
Right? And he shall do what?
Separate them one from another.
He shall do what?
Separate them one from another.
Right? And that's what the Christian church that come to say that all are we is one. And all are we supposed to be together, lump up together. Right? But imagine when Christ come back, right? Something already immediately will be wrong. And the wrong thing that will happen is that we together, we join up together. So now he had to come and do the work of doing what? Separating we, right? Read it again, Baba Kasha.
Verse 32. And before him shall be gathered all nations.
Go ahead.
And he shall separate them one from another.
All right. So we will be lumped up together. So we will already be doing something that's wrong already. Right? So he will come now to separate us one from another. Understand? So the East Indian man got to go back to the East Indian country, right? The black man got to go back to the Israelite country, right? The real Jews and the real Israelites and the Bible is the black, the Hispanic, and the Native Indian man, right? The white man got to go back to his land. Everybody will be separated back into their race and their tribe, right? Word.
Okay. As a shepherd divided sheep, so like a divided his sheep from the goats.
Right? Just as the shepherd go divide sheep from goats, he doing the same thing, right? Everybody had to go back. Sheep can be with goat, right? Goat can be mating with sheep and sheep can be mating with goat. It has separation. Goat with goat, sheep with sheep, right? But because of the Christian church and because of white supremacy, everybody mixed up together and everybody intermarrying one another, right? You'll never see a cow sleeping with a deer, understand? Or a deer with a rhino, right? Rhino for rhino, deer for deer, right? And it's the same thing supposed to happen with man. The Chinese man for the Chinese woman, the Israelite man for the Israelite woman, the black man for the black woman, the Hispanic man for the white man for the white woman, right? Right? Because black, Hispanics, and Native Indians, all of them is one nation, right? That is one people, right? The African man who lives in Africa is for the African woman, right? Go ahead. Verse 33.
Verse 33. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left.
Right? So he say he will set the sheep on the right hand and the goats on the left. Go ahead.
Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my father.
Right?
Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundations of the world.
Right? And the sheep is the nation of Israel. Right? And he will say, Come ye blessed of my father, and inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. So in the beginning of the world, right? This earth was prepared for us, right? Go ahead.
For I was on hunger, and he gave me meat. I was thirsty, and he gave me drink. I was a stranger, and he took me in.
Right? Go ahead.
Naked, and he clothed me.
Right? Naked, and we clothed him. Go ahead.
I was sick, and he visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me.
That's right.
Then shall the righteous answer him and say, Lord, when saw we thee and hunger and fed thee, or thirsty and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger and took thee in, or naked and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick or in prison and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them.
Right? So they're asking Lord, well, when we see you, you understand where I'm from? Right? When we see you in prison, I never see you in prison. Understand? Yeah. I never see you when I was clothing the sick. Understand? I never see you when I was feeding the poor. When we see you, so they ask them that, right? Go ahead.
Verse 40. And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me.
Right. Right. And the king I said, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of these my brethren, right? By doing it to your people, your nation, your brothers and sisters around you, you're doing it to the Most High, right? And as we starting off, that is something for me to consider. So then, if when I feed more people, I clothe them, I visit them in prison, right? And I feed the sick. If I'm doing that to the Lord, right? Then you want to consider the other side, and the other side is, what if I'm not doing that? What if I treated them bad? You understand? Right? What if I killing my brother? You understand? What if I committing adultery against my brother? You understand where I'm from? What if I encouraging more people in homosexuality, right, and lesbianism? Right. Then now we're doing it too. You understand? Now we're coming against Christ. You understand? And that is what I do understand, right? Whatever you do to the people around you, your brothers and sisters, you're doing it to Christ. Right. You understand? And that is the standard we are to hold. So then now, if I realize that I'm doing this to Christ, then I must hold what a righteous standard. Right. So then now that my works will be one of righteousness toward my brother. You understand? Because I wouldn't want to treat Christ like that, right? Right. Continue.
Verse 41. Then shall ye say also unto them on the left hand, all right, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels.
Right? And on the left hand side was what? The goats, right? And now them now, right? It tell them depart from him because the curse, right? And it's so ironic. Right, you know that they refer to these celebrities as goats, greatest of all time. Understand? And when you think about it, that was the greatest of all time going. Yeah. Understand where I'm coming from? They're going on the left hand side, the curse. Understand? Because them had no time. Right? Understand, to look after the people. They had no time to look after the nation. Understand where I'm coming from? Right? Them going down with all the wicked Christian pastors who lead the people astray and tell people they don't have to follow the laws, they don't have to keep the commandments. Right? The laws are old dispensation, right? By telling them all these things, they put a stumbling block in front of the people, right? Go ahead, Officer Yakan.
Yes, like I said, also encouraging other people to vote. Vote a king over us. That's a big thing now.
That's right. That's excellent point, right? Because you know now is voting season in America, right? And everybody wondering which white man they're going to put over them. Understand? One a little evil and one more evil. And that's where I come from. That is the choice to have. You understand? Right? Instead of coming back to the laws, statutes, and commandments and choosing a righteous king. Right? The Bible says, "Do set one from another nation over you." So we was never supposed to set any race or any other race of people over us to rule over us.
Right.
Because they will never rule in righteousness. Right? They will always rule in that evil and wicked way, right? Because they don't understand the ways, the culture and the laws and the statutes and the judgments of the Most High.
Right.
Right? That was the end of verse 41. Go down to Luke. Go to Luke chapter 6 and verse 31, Babakisha.
6 and 31?
Yeah. Yeah, son, and this is what we have to understand. So every time I do good to my brother, right? Christ say I do it unto him, right? And if I provoke evil, right? He taken record of it, because no it's like I'm doing it unto him, right? And we go understand why this happening. Go ahead.
The book of Luke chapter 6 and verse 31. And all ye would that men should do to you, do ye also to them likewise.
Read that one more time again.
As ye would that men should do to you, do ye also to them likewise.
Right? And basically we say there, the same way that you want people to treat you, right? It's the same way you have to do them.
Right.
Right? Vice versa. And that's where I come from. The same treatment going one to another. Right? And that's where you're trying to explain to your disciples at that time. And that's where I come from. So all the good things you want for you, the same you must want for your brother and for your sister. Right? And if you going astray, the same way you should want them, the same way you will correct them if they're going astray, the same way you should want them to correct you if you going astray. Right? It works hand in hand. And so anytime I start to go mad, right? I start to feel that I'm more than myself, somebody must be able, and I start to inflate and go up like helium, somebody must be able to tie a string around my foot and pull me back down.
Right. And
bring me back down to the ground. You understand where I come from? Right? And make me understand, don't float away. And understand, before I lost my soul. Right? And that is how we're giving me love. Yeah, that is brotherhood. You understand? I come here saving me from my own destruction. You understand? And I must be willing now to do the same for another brother. You understand? And that is how he will be saved from destruction. Right? And let's hold that for me. Right? And I'm gonna see if I find this quick. There's a scripture that Mark. Let me see if I find it quick. The scripture, there's a scripture, a paraphrasing, saying, "Who made dirt and ashes proud?"
Say the first thing.
Who made dirt and ashes proud? Let's see if I find it. Understand? And that's where I understand. Your brothers and sisters is that check and that check and balance for you to walk the straight and narrow. Understand? And that's what brotherhood is. Brotherhood could save you from destruction. Brotherhood is unity, right?
So I guess that's Ecclesiastes, because
okay. I believe it's somewhere there. But as we go on, I will find it, right?
Oh, so is it Ecclesiastes 10 and 9? Why is earth and ashes proud?
Right.
There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man.
That's right.
For such as one setteth his own soul to save, because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels.
Right. Then that's where I come from. Right. And that way the most I try to do. You is not anything by yourself. Right. Oh. Yeah. So next side. Yeah. Salakia. Yeah. You is not anything by yourself. And that's where I come from. Right. In the kingdom of heaven, it's no one man island. And understand, you not great and mighty, right? Just as he tell Moses to step aside, and he go raise a nation from from the rocks. You understand where I'm from? Right, to show the power of the Most High. Right? Just like the flood, you wipe out everybody and reset it. And so that's the power here, right? No man is no one man island and feel well. They could do it on their own, right? That is where the rule of brotherhood coming in, right? And as we go along, we go understand why this is so important, right? They finish Luke 6:31.
Okay.
Drop down to verse 38, Babakasha.
The book of Luke chapter 6 and verse 38. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together.
Salakia. Go back up to verse 35, Babakasha.
The book of Luke chapter 6 and verse 35. But love ye your enemies. Right?
They say love your enemies, right? That is your people. Your people are wrong. Because some people, it's all kind of thing that's come to try you. And a man might get you mad, right? But you gotta work through that. And as I come from, go to him and work it out one-on-one, right? It's just as you just say, and if you do here, you bring two, right? And I use the protocol on how to solve these matters, right? So it say love your enemies, and that is love. Loving the enemies is going to him one-on-one, right? So it won't become worse. And as I go and trash it out, right? Talk about it. If you, I don't know, something, right? You find he take a bigger slice of bread, go and ask him why. And Hassan probably was going to break it in half to give somebody else. And Hassan, instead of just staying and thinking in your mind, well, how we could go with a whole half of the bread. And Hassan come from, right? So you go and trash it out, right? Go ahead.
But love ye your enemies, and do good, and lend, hoping for nothing again.
Right? And say, lend with hoping with nothing back again. Right? It don't mean giving away everything you have and turning and pour upon the side of the road and you end up turning begging. It don't mean that. And that's where I come from, right? But when they give to that's some people that give to you and they're expecting a favor or something in return, right? So something on the side, right? Don't do that. And that's where I come. You give to a man cheerfully then, right? Go ahead.
And your reward shall be great, and ye shall be the children of the highest.
Right, and you shall be the children of the Most High. Go ahead.
For he is kind unto the unthankful.
He was kind unto what?
Unto the unthankful.
Go ahead.
And to the evil.
That's right. You understand where I'm from? Because the Most High could wipe out anybody and anytime. What's some people outside in the world doing all kind of wickedness? You understand where I'm from? Right? And yet still the Most High still decide to make sun and rain shine on them every day. And understand the clothes still drying. And understand, yes, we know the time will come when that pay, and understand, for the trespasses. And understand, but he's still giving that grace so that somehow, and understand, you could repent and change from your ways. And understand, but still people don't care. And understand, they go out in the street and let me use the blacks, Hispanics, and the Indians, use the true Jews of the Bible, they want to kill you. You understand where I come from? Right? So sometimes sometimes it could seem weird, right? Because you're fighting for somebody and they don't really look at that pain like they don't care. And understand, but that blindness or that block over the eyes, they can't see it. And understand, and it's somebody who fight for we but way back then. And understand, that is why we able to be inside here now and understanding the truth about the Bible, right? And understanding the ways and culture and laws of the Most High, right? Somebody decide to look back and understand in the trash, understand, and say, boy, I go out on the street today to go and prophesy to my brothers and sisters, right? You know, the Most High giving the increase, understand? But you're deciding to go out there and fight for your brothers and sisters, right? Well,
verse 36. Be ye therefore merciful, as your Father also is merciful.
And the same way the Most High merciful, the same way we have to be merciful. And that's where I come from. We can't forget. We can't want to pound we brother, we sister down into the ground. And that's where I come from, because of one wrong thing they might do. And understand, you tell them the truth. You understand, give them that path of correction so that they will come back on the right path. And understand, but it don't mean you have to pound them down to the ground and break them down to chini bibi, as we just say in Trinidad. And understand, Chini bibis are very fine powder. right? It is grind at this corn it is grind, and bring it into chili baby, right? Go ahead.
So like you know, some of them also put like always, you know, bring back another person's past. So then they might be have done something or you know, and just people, you know, picking them back.
Right? You keep on bring back up that old history. You understand where I'm coming from? And that mercifulness is for not just one man, but for everybody. You understand? Because that is what we see how I shall do, so we have to do the same. And that's where I come from. Just like when they was going to stone the woman, right? Yeah, ask them he without sin cast the first stone. Who here never sinned, and nobody couldn't answer. You understand? So that's a drop the stone and walk away. You understand where I come from, right? Because everybody fall into that category, right? So everybody, he gave the woman mercy, and he didn't just say he didn't just grant him mercy and everybody walk away. He said no more. You understand? So then now you gotta make sure to understand, right, that this is not the correct path you're walking. You understand where I'm coming from? Being a thief or a murderer, that's not the correct path. If you continue on that path, this is the consequence. The consequence is death. Right. You understand? Right? Or imprisonment, right? Or some harsh penalty. You might end up in some situation. Look, I was in some old news. Right? A man going to rob a place and he foot shoot out. You understand where I come from? Right? He foot gets shoot so bad that they'll take it out. You understand? And he lost his thumb finger and all else for thieving. You understand where I come from? Right? And that, you know what them kind of they do what that type of justice to take you. You understand? From the Most High. You understand? So you want to repent before you reach that far. You have to suffer loss. You have to understand the consequences and punishment are going on these paths. Right? So we have to be, right? In brotherhood, we have to be more merciful to one another, right? Drop down to verse 38, Baba Kusha.
Verse 38. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, and shaken together, and running over, shall men give into your bosom.
Right. Go ahead.
For with the same measure that ye meet withal, it shall be measured to you again.
Right. And the whole point you're trying to bring here, right? The same measure, the same thing coming back. You understand where I'm coming from? So if you do evil against a man, sometime down the line, evil coming back. You understand? Right? As what was teaching last I think Bill was last history class, right? Sometimes they die and everybody say, hey, that man gets away, boy. But he ain't get away. You understand? The most I say, remember the pain after death. You understand where I come from? Right? So when they die, they go into judgment, right? And they don't know what punishment could befall you, right? So before that time reach, understand that the same measure that you dish it out, the same measure you giving it back. Understand? Right? The scripture say, those that lead into captivity must go into captivity. You understand? And not unbalanced and not unfair. You understand? So as we're going through life and going through the world, we understand that what we dish out, we're going to get it back at some point in time. You understand? So you might as well dish out a lot on the good side. You understand where I'm from? On the righteous side, right? Go ahead.
If I may.
Also, you can.
Even this same scripture, verse 38. Other Christians like to sing or recite this passage of scripture when they collect tithes.
But they only do it for money, for gain, but it's for everything. You understand? Right? It's for every part of your life. You understand where I'm from? Right? You can't want to tell people the law's done away with, right? And expect to reap good. You understand? Because you destroying a whole generation of people, right? From Tanti, as we just say, straight down to children. Everybody being destroyed because everybody believe that they don't have to keep the law, they don't have to keep the statutes, they don't have to keep the commandments, right? And you lead a whole generation astray. So at some way along the line, right? If you don't repent or change from that action, you're going to pay for that unrighteousness that you do. You understand?
Right.
That was the end of verse 38, right? We go to Mark chapter 12 and verse 29. Baba Kisha.
Mark 12 and
29.
Mark 12. The book of Mark chapter 12 and verse 29.
Go ahead.
And Jesus answered him, the first of all the commandments is, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord.
All right, go ahead.
And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart.
Right? So it tells them the first of all the commandments, right? He said the Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all your heart. So all your heart, when you say all your heart, it means all your mind, right? Go ahead.
And with all thy mind.
And with all your heart. Yeah, go ahead.
And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength.
And with all your strength, go ahead.
This is the first commandment.
And he said that is the first commandment, right? And we don't want to forget, remember when you read in Ecclesiastes 12 and Ecclesiastes, 12 and 13, right? He said the whole duty of man is to keep the commandments, right? So you want to keep that in mind, right? So he said this first commandment, right, is to love the Lord thy God with all your heart, your soul, your strength, right? And your mind. This is the first commandment, right? Go ahead.
And the second is like unto it.
Right? And the second is like, right? Namely this, right? Go ahead.
Is like, namely this. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
It said, thou shalt do what?
Love thy neighbor as thyself.
Right? So the same way you love yourself, the same way you're supposed to love your neighbor. Right? So if you don't want nobody breaking your house, you must want the same thing for your neighbor. And that's where I come from, right? If you don't want nobody murder you, you must want the same thing from your neighbor. You must not murder your neighbor. You don't want nobody commit adultery with your wife, you must not want to commit adultery with somebody else's wife. You understand where I come from? The same, you don't want nobody covet your stuff, to take your stuff or to thief your stuff. You must want the same thing for your neighbor, right? And in all this law, right, simply started to break down to brotherhood, right? What you want for yourself, you must want that same thing for somebody else, right? Go ahead.
There is none other commandment greater than these.
And it say now there is none other commandment greater than these. Right? And it doesn't mean that you don't have to do none of the other commandments. Right? We're saying these. We're saying is when I catch the spirit of these, you will be able to follow all. That's what it's saying. And once I catch these two, you will begin to understand why I should not eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. Why I should not be a homosexual. Why I should not be a lesbian. And that's where I come from, right? Why I should leave the corner, the fields for the poor. You will begin to understand the rest. Once you could grasp the spirit of these two, right? Loving the Most High with all your mind and loving your neighbor as yourself, meaning your brother, right? Your people as yourself, right? Then you will be able to capture the essence of all the laws in the scriptures, and it will have to be right looking to list out all. Understand? Because you go understand, and I don't want to do evil against my brother, right? Go ahead. That was the end, right?
Okay.
Right. Jump to John 13 and 34.
13 and 34?
Yeah.
The book of John chapter 13 and verse 34. A new commandment I give unto you.
All right, it's a new commandment I give unto you. This Christ speaking in red word.
That ye love one another.
That we do what?
Love one another.
Right, so Christ now keeps stressing on this, right? The point is that we love one another, and we want to know why he keeps stressing on this, right? Because when we was in Mark, right, it telling us that the two greatest is that we love the Most High with all our mind, soul, and heart, right? And that we love we brothers we self, right? And then Christ coming back here again and read from it up again. This will be Christ saying,
a new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another, as I have loved you.
So the same way, right? When it was the example he said, the same way he said he love we, the same way we had to do it. You understand where I'm from? Right? And he keeps stressing on us loving one another, right? Go ahead.
That he also love one another.
Right? He keeps stressing on it. We must love one another. Right? Go down to 1 John chapter 4 and verse 20, Baba Kisha. Right? It keeps stressing.
The book of 1 John chapter 4 and verse 20. If a man say, I love God.
Right? So he's saying, if a man say that he love God, well,
and hate his brother.
And he hates his brother.
He is a liar.
He is a what?
He is a liar.
Right? It say he's a liar. Right? And when we look at the Christian church today, right? And the Muslim mosque and all different type of religion, Egyptology, all that we go in, right? They just say they love God. Understand? But when we watch them, they hate their brother. They hate one another. They could never come together. Something always getting in the mid-side. Understand? So some evil always coming in the midst of them, right? Because they never truly loving their brother. You understand where I come from? Right? So then now, when Christians say that God, that I love God, the lion. When TJ say he love God, the lion. You understand? When Pastor Coffee say he love God, he lying. You understand? Because you must love your brother the same way. You understand where I come from? Right? You wouldn't see you wouldn't know your brother going in poverty and he paying for a Bentley that you're driving. That wouldn't happen. You understand where I come from? Right? He wouldn't he come in church for 6 years. You understand? You build a whole big massive church. I don't know if they ever see Christ Castle in Trinidad. One big massive church with about 20 different churches in that one church. Imagine they're keeping a service in the main church and then keeping semi-service in the other churches in the same building. First the building big, right? All that, and he commented church for years, and he in poverty. You understand? Nothing for his salt. You understand? He's sowing seed. You understand? Buying prayer cloth, buying candle. You understand? Come from handkerchief, right? They're praying for him. Nothing. You understand? You know, and you know what I tell you? Your blessing didn't come yet. You understand? Come on, you hoping for this invisible something to just rest on you. You understand where I come from? When among your own people, that is a blessing. You understand? Supposed to be among the brotherhood. You understand where I come from? Right? But he does in poverty. Nobody care about his problems. You understand? Everybody saying, you understand that your problem. You understand? And nobody willing to take on that problem. You understand? And they leave you by yourself. Now, you wanted to say something else, Saika?
Yes, like, yeah, I was going to say that you know, all these nice big buildings that the Christian church built, and yet still sometimes 90% of their congregation is living below the poverty line.
That's right.
They don't have no proper house for their own.
No.
Their children, they don't have no proper food, but you know they're sowing whatever they could have.
Yeah.
In hope.
In hope I repent in hope I repent something. And really and truly deception. And I understand it's like the going a casino that rig. You understand? You're expecting to win, but you can't win. Nothing. And understand? And the Christian pastors and these religious leaders playing off your ignorance. You understand? And they keep sucking it dry. Why is them living the high and wealthy life? understand? Some people taking the last and buying cars and houses for these people, right? Right? And these people do not care. The more they get, is the more they're taking. They wouldn't say, all right, well, I have enough. You understand where I come from? Right? And they will use them to a pulp. Right? Go ahead.
So like I said, just one more thing. Even as I say, use them. Sometimes the money is one thing, but also the people's time and energy.
Yeah, well, it's everything that's taken from you. You understand? Because remember, a lot of people putting in work, right? In these buildings, painting the church, sweeping out, maintaining the building. The secretaries working for less than nothing. You understand where I'm coming from? Right? Some people are using the gas, dropping people back and forth. You understand? Right? And this is what happening. And they're totally sucking this person dry until they have nothing. Now, when they have nothing and they decide to say, well, I need help, that is when you owe the church. They're no use for you again. You understand where I come from? And they suck you dry. You understand? And then they will say, well, he backslide. You understand where I come from? Right? They're no use for you again. That is what they're saying. You understand? That was First John 13 and 34.
That was 4 and 6.
Oh, Slakia. 4 and 20, right?
Continue.
Yeah, go ahead.
The book of First John chapter 4 and verse 20. If a man say, I love God, and hates his brother, he is a liar.
Right, so he's a liar, right? He don't like God. You understand? And that to show you how important brotherhood is. You understand where I come from? Right? It didn't say if a man say he love God, right? And didn't drop your brother to church. It didn't say that. You understand? It say if you didn't love your brother. You understand? Then you can't love God. That's how dread it is. And these are the thing the Christian church not making people understand. Understand? Because plenty of them sit down in the churches and in war with one another. Right there in the pew. Understand? They sit down and they're talking about sister so and so. Why she come with this big hat? Understand? Or how she have on the same dress as me. Understand? Or you talking about Brother Carl. Understand? Because Brother Carl, understand, buy a new Prado. They get mad. You understand where I'm from? And start a petty thing in the churches. Right? And they have enmity between one another. Right? And then now, you raise up your hand to say you're crying. Understand? And singing and saying that you love God. You understand? Right? That is just hypocrisy. Right? So you hate God. Right? That was the end of verse 20. Go ahead.
For he that loveth not his brother, whom he hath seen.
Right? So if you can't love your brother, who you're seeing, you're physically seeing this man in the flesh, and you can't love that man. Go ahead.
How can he love God, whom he has not seen?
Right? How you can love God, or you can love God and you never see him. You understand? You never lay eyes on him, then it's really proven that he's a liar. You understand where I come from? Right? It come like you saying that you love some distant planet that you don't even know exists. You understand where I come from? Right? That is madness. You understand? So it starts with the physical. Where you could see this man every day, see him every day. You understand? You're walking around him every day, talking around him every day, right? That is the people you love. The people, your people, your nation of people, right? That is the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. That is your people, and that is the people you're supposed to love, right? Because these are the people you are around every day. Go to John chapter 15 and verse 12, Babakasha.
The book of John chapter 15 and verse 12. This is my commandment, that ye love one another.
Right? So there's the commandment Christ gave you, that we love one another. Go ahead.
As I have loved you.
Just as he has loved you. That is just like what the next verse was saying. Just as he loved us, the same example. Go in the scripture and then look at the example he set. That is the same example we have to follow. Right? The same way he loved his disciples, and the same way he died for his people, died for his nation, in the same way. And that's where I come from. You know, right? Giving up your life for your nation by what? Sacrificing for your people, right? Right? Continue.
Okay. It's like a greater love had no man.
Verse 13 here.
13. Greater love had no man than this, that a man laid down his life for his friend.
That's right. Greater love, right? And that way Christ did for me. Understand? Christ gave up his life for me. Understand? Christ didn't eat pork, he didn't eat shrimp, he didn't eat lobster, he did not commit adultery, he did not murder his brother. Understand? When you look at Christ, after Christ passed through the entire trial, he was still presumed innocent. You understand where I'm from? Until Pilate had say, you wash your hand from this. You understand where I'm from? Right? Because he know he was an innocent man. And Christ died in our place. He died because we wanted to eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. You understand? So because I wanted to stay in my loss, you understand? He paid the price for it. And he know he paid any price for it, and still tell the Lord, your will be done. You understand? I said, now are you mad? I never eat no pork. Okay. You understand? For them, you mad. You understand where I'm from? Right? Why dying for? You understand? Right? Is that man who is he went and murder? I never tell you to murder. You understand? That's what we just say. You understand? But yet still, he still make that sacrifice for me. You understand? And that is the ultimate, the greatest form of love. Understand? He make that sacrifice for me. He paid the price for me. Right? That blood shed so that we could have a chance to repent and come back to the Most High. Go ahead. That was the end of it?
That was the end of
Read verse 14, Babakisha.
Verse 14. Ye are my friends.
He said, ye are my friends, right? Go ahead.
If ye do whatsoever I command you.
That's right. I understand. That is the next thing Christians are saying. Christ is the friend and the savior. You understand? And they do nothing he say. Nothing in the Bible they don't do. You understand where I come from? Right? None of these laws, statutes, and commandments they do follow. You understand? All of them hate the brother, hate the mother, hate the sister. You understand? In one form or fashion or the other. Right? So none of them just follow the things that Christ command them to do. You understand? They love Easter, love Christmas, love what is part of Halloween? You understand? Down here in Trinidad, All Saints, the cemetery bright. You understand? About $2 million in bottle candle. You understand where I'm from? Right? The whole cemetery bright. You understand? Because none of them doing none of the things that Christ tells them to do in the Bible. And yet still the same, they love God. That is why God had to tell them he's a liar. Because you're not doing what I tell you. Right? That was the end of verse 14.
Okay.
Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13 from the beginning.
1 Corinthians chapter 1.
Chapter 13 and verse 1. Understand? Right? And that is because the people in the world, the Christians, the Egyptologists, the Muslims, right? All the atheists, even if they don't believe in God, that is why where they don't understand is that they have no brotherhood. Understand? That why the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man all over the place straight away. Understand? No brotherhood. Right? Go ahead. Can read from verse 1, Baba Kusha.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 1. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels.
Right? So he said, though you speak with the tongues of men, right? All the language you can talk. You understand? You're the best interpreter. You understand? As a man say something in a language, yeah. That is Spanish. That is this. That is that. You understand? You know it. You understand? It's rolling off your head. Right? So do you speak with what?
Tongues of men.
All right, go ahead.
And of angels.
And some of them they're going up in the spirit man, you know, other like to roll the tongue, understand? And understand? That was very funny. You understand? But because back in the days in the Christianity, everybody rolling and you like, what the hell going on here? You understand? You understand? Right? It's a certain madness. You understand? And everybody rattling and it's a certain noise because nobody know what nobody says. You understand? And in the end, no interpreter. It's just done and they move on and start to sing. Madness. You understand where I'm from? Go ahead.
So I guess if they know what language it was.
They don't know.
Nothing.
Nothing. And kill them dead. We don't see the deep in his spirit. You understand? And it's madness. Right? So read back from the top one more time, Baba Kusha.
Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels.
And of angels, go ahead.
And have no charity.
And they have no.
I am become a sounding brass. Or as a tinkling cymbal.
Right? And we're basically saying when I say a sounding brass or as a tinkling cymbal, noise. That is noise. And as I'm coming from, I remember a old teacher in school long time. He just say the empty vessels make the most noise. And as I remember that saying that I like to tell you in school. Yeah, because nothing. And as you're full of nothing. Hot air. And as I'm coming from, right? And that's what happened to them there, right? Go ahead, continue to verse 2.
And though I have the gift of prophecy,
right? And though you have the gift of prophecy, you understand? Everybody coming to you. You understand? You have the best breakdowns. You understand? You're on point, right? Go ahead.
And understand all mysteries.
And you understand all the no mystery you know about. Genesis to Revelation. You're flipping back and any precept you could find it. You understand? So though I understand the gift of prophecy, and though I understand all mysteries, go ahead.
And all knowledge.
And all knowledge. You understand? It's nothing you can remember. You're on point. Go ahead.
And though I have all faith.
You have all the faith. You understand? All your works, you could show it. This is what I do. You understand? I went up here, I went down there. You understand? I bring in this. You understand? Right? You have a whole set of works. Go ahead.
So that I could remove mountains.
Right? And that the big problems you solve. Well, I solve this one. I solve that. You understand? Right? Go ahead.
And have not charity.
And you have no charity.
I am nothing.
He is nothing. You understand where I'm from? Continue.
And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor.
And though you bestow all your goods, you give away everything. You understand? Everything you have. You understand? You take out the last light bulb from your house and give it away. Right? Though you bestow all your goods to feed the poor. Go ahead.
And though I gave my body to be burned.
And though I take my body, I take my own body. You understand? And burn. Right? Go ahead.
I have not charity.
You still don't have charity. Go ahead.
It profited me nothing.
So it said all these things, right, will profit nothing. Right? It does, no, prophesying is not a bad thing, but it's saying it is important. That's something important that you will be missing. Right? Go ahead.
Charity suffereth long.
Right? And I'm telling you what charity is, right? So it's saying charity suffereth long. Go ahead.
And is kind.
It's kind. Go ahead.
Charity envieth not.
Charity is something that envy not, right? You do envy. You understand? Love. Go ahead.
Charity vaunteth not itself.
Vaunteth not itself. Salakia. Let's find this here. Salakia. Just give me the spelling of wanted.
V-A-U-N-T-H.
Pretty Miriam. Right? So long suffering, it's kind, right? And it's charity vaunteth not itself, right? The definition of vaunt, to make a vain display of one own's worth and attainment. You understand where I'm from? So you're glorying in yourself, basically. You understand where I'm from? Right? So they say charity, don't do that, right? Don't glory in your own achievements, right? Go ahead. Go down to go down in the verse, Babakasha.
Charity wanted not itself.
So it don't glory in its own self. Go ahead.
It is not puffed up.
Right? Charity is not puffed up. Go ahead.
Do not behave itself unseemly.
Do not
behave itself unseemly.
So charity have a proper conduct, right? It doesn't behave itself unseemly. You can't behave how you want. Understand? Go ahead.
Seek it not her own. Is not easily provoked.
Right? So it's a charity does not seek its own. Understand where I'm coming from? Right? You ain't looking to pull nothing on the side for you alone. Not selfish. Right? And also it's saying, you know, and it's not easily provoked because well-tempered. You understand where I'm from? You can handle all situations, all types of pressure. Nobody can easily provoke you, right? Go ahead.
Thinketh no evil.
And thinketh no evil. You understand where I'm from? Righteous judgment all the way down. You understand? So I ain't thinking to sabotage nobody because I remember that in 1972 you did do me this. You understand? Thinketh no evil. Go ahead.
Rejoices not in iniquity.
Do hate iniquity. Right? Continue.
But rejoiceth in the truth.
But rejoiceth in the truth. All the thing that is upright and true, the charity does rejoice in that, right? Go ahead.
Beareth all things.
Beareth all things.
Believeth all things.
Right? Beareth all things. You taking on an next man problem. You understand where I'm from? Right? You taking on that burden. You understand? And it says, beareth all things and believeth all things that are true. Go ahead.
Hopeth all things. Endureth all things.
And hopeth all things and endureth all things. We're going through the storm. Charity making it through the storm. Right? Go ahead.
Charity never faileth.
Charity never faileth. This is something that has never failed. Go ahead.
But whether there be a prophecy, there shall fail.
Right? So prophecies could fail. Right? And how our prophecy could fail? Just like Jonah. You understand? He went and delivered a prophecy that this place going and be destroyed in, I think it was 3 days. Right? They're never going to be destroyed. But the people decide to change from the evil ways and they must repent. That prophecy, but destroyed in 3 days failed.
But he didn't lie.
And that's not from he didn't lie. But the most I repent, right? He most I change from his way, right? Because that the power the most I have. That's why they say the children of Israel serve a living God. And understand? A dead God stuck in its ways. It cannot do nothing, but a living God have the ability to change or repent. Understand? And that is what he did with Nineveh was saved because they changed from the evil ways. Right? So prophecies could fail. Go ahead.
Whether there be tongues, they shall cease.
Tongues could cease. You understand where I come from? Right? A whole place die out, nobody talking that language again. What's the language we lost? You understand? Because nobody talking it again. That tongues could cease. Go ahead.
Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away.
Almost libraries born. Almost people dead with all the knowledge in their head. You understand? All that history lost. People can't even remember partially. You understand where I come from? Fighting to save book and dig up bone to see if you can remember. All right, so knowledge could vanish away, right? Go ahead.
For we know in part, and we prophesy in part.
Right. Now you read verse 9, right? Are we to go back? Going back up to verse. Going back up to verse 2, right? And when I reach verse 4, I will tell you something, right? Go read verse 2, Baba Kusha.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 2. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries,
right,
and all knowledge,
right,
and though I have all faith, so that I can remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing.
So it's saying that if you could do all these things, you have no charity. Continue to verse 3.
And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profited me nothing.
So though you give away everything and even put yourself to be burned, it will still profit nothing. Right? Go ahead, wait till verse 4.
Charity suffereth long.
Because charity suffereth long, right?
And is kind.
And it's kind. Hold up there. Read back from the top. And we see where you're saying charity for brotherhood. Go ahead.
Kind. Brotherhood suffered long and is kind.
What brothers do? Suffer long and is what?
And is kind.
Go ahead.
Brotherhood envieth not.
Brotherhood does what?
Envieth not.
Go ahead.
Brotherhood wanted not itself. It is not puffed up.
So brotherhood puffeth not itself and is not wanted not itself and is not puffed up, right? Go ahead.
Do it not behave itself unseemly.
Do it what?
Not behave itself unseemly.
Go ahead.
Seek it not her own. Is not easily provoked.
Go ahead.
Think it no evil.
Think it no what?
Think it no evil.
When you're in true brotherhood, you're thinking what? No evil. Go ahead.
Rejoiceth not in iniquity.
Brotherhood does what?
Rejoiceth not in iniquity.
True brotherhood rejoice not in iniquity. Continue.
But rejoiceth in the truth.
But rejoiceth in what?
In the truth.
In the truth, in the word, in the word through the scripture. And that's what brotherhood is. Go ahead.
Beareth all things. Believeth all things.
Brotherhood does do take the weight, take the burden. That's what brotherhood does do. Right? And brotherhood believe all things. When they believe all things, they believe in all things in the truth. Go ahead.
Hopeth all things. And endureth all things.
Hopeth all things, and brotherhood does endure all things. And understand, we believe all things in this truth. We don't only believe part. And understand, we don't say, well, we believe in the New Testament and don't believe in the Old Testament. And understand, we don't say, we believe in the books of Moses, but we don't believe in the New Testament. And understand, we don't believe in just eating, not just eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster and doing some other unseemly thing. We believe what? The whole book of the law. That is what brotherhood is, right? And we hope at all things because we believe in the prophecies of the Bible. Understand? And we endure all things. Brotherhood does endure all things. Continue.
Verse 8. Charity never faileth.
And I say charity never faileth, right? So then if you flip it, it will be what? Brotherhood what?
Brotherhood never faileth.
That is why brotherhood is a weapon, right? Because it will never fail, right? Go ahead.
But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail.
That's right.
Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away.
That's right. But the lasting thing is brotherhood, right? And that is where Christ, right, was trying to make them understand when he said these two commandments. And understand the two commandments: love the Most High with all your heart, soul, and mind. And that is why loving your brother itself is so important. You understand? Because nothing can break that. You understand? Nothing can break the brotherhood. That is how serious the brotherhood is. You understand where I'm coming from? Because if you do have brotherhood, none of these other things could function. You understand where I'm coming from? That is what most important. Loving your neighbor as yourself. Loving your people. You understand? When we look around, we just feel the pain for the people we see now they lost because we know it have a better life than that.
Right.
And understand it have a better life than just paying bills and paying student loan and being in student debt. And understand it have a better life than voting for an evil white man. And understand where I'm from? And you know you're gonna be damn evil. You understand? And you're still trying to hope for good in all that evilness. That is madness. That is insanity. You understand where I'm coming from? It have a better life than homosexuality, a better life than lesbianism, right? A better life than being a murderer and a thief, and always being on the hustle, on the grind, in the bottom of society. You understand? It have a better life, but the better life is in brotherhood.
Right.
The better life is in coming together with your people. They say gather yourselves together, O nation that desired. It doesn't just mean gather like a big bunch of people and we don't know what we're doing. Understand? It's gathering in brotherhood. And the only place that way you could get in Brotherhood is under commanding Gen.YAHANNA and the I.S.U.P.K. You understand where I come from? This is what has been taught since 1969. You understand? And that is why it hard for a black man to come when you're on the street. What did I say? We're talking good, brother, you know? You understand? But it's hard for the black man to come together. That is the problem. For black people to come together. And we Christ telling you, love your neighbor as yourself. We trying to tell you is come together. But it's hard for we because we don't want to love one another. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I said, you're not just saying that, you know, the person saying that, you know, black man hard together. They
understand? And coming together is a difficult thing. You understand? Because picture this, people from all of we, look at all of we, in all the different camps, all through the I.S.U.P.K, all of we from different background. And under command Gen.YAHANNA, be able to come man from the prison. You understand? Ex-police, ex-soldier. You understand where I come from? Come out the white man military, come out. All different type of background. You understand? Some of we used to smoke weed, some of we was in crime, murderers, drug dealers, car thieves. You understand? And how we could be in one and in harmony together and not doing one another evilness and living in righteousness. You understand? Charity. But you can only learn that in brother. You can't learn that by yourself. You can't be by yourself and learn charity.
Yeah.
That is the thing about it. You understand? They have to come together. Right? Give me Proverbs 17 and 17, Babakasha.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 17 and verse 17. A friend loveth at all times.
A friend do what?
Loveth at all times.
Go ahead.
And another is born for adversity.
That's what brother born for. You understand? The hard times, the times the painful times, that's what brother born for. You understand? But when you're by yourself, what I'm telling you, you understand? You go get depressed. You understand where I'm coming from? You go try to see and you go try to see your own way out. You understand? And that's where you go, either you end up dead or you end up in prison. You understand? Right? And some other statistics because the white man beat you to death. In the police service. You understand where I'm coming from? Right? Or the loss of the world take you and end up some homosexual or lesbian on the side of the road. You understand? Loss. Because you don't even know your own identity. You understand? God gave you a rod and you telling yourself he's a woman. You understand? Your own mind deceive you. You understand? You can say your mind is deceitful and desperately wicked. You understand where I'm from? Your own mind deceive you. Right? Because why? We wasn't designed to do this on our own. You understand? The scripture says, gather yourself together. And that place we gather in, and the only place that is talk about gathering in Brotherhood is under commanding Gen.YAHANNA and the I.S.U.P.K. That is what that is. You understand? That is the only place you can understand Brotherhood. That is the only way you can understand how to bear adversity and go through things with one another and make your Brotherhood become stronger and better. You understand? That is the only thing. They say iron sharpeneth iron. You understand? That is the only way we can go through. That is the only way we can learn long suffering and kindness. You understand? And being merciful and making the correct judgment one to another.
Right.
That is the only way we can learn that. All right? Give me 1 John 5 and 3, Babakasha.
Book of 1 John, chapter 5 and verse 3.
Go ahead.
For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments.
That we do what?
That we keep his commandments.
So the love of God is that we keep his commandments, right? So if the love of God is that we keep his commandments, that is how you're showing you love God. And he's telling you, these two, once I get these two inside, right? Not that they don't want to keep the rest, but these two important for you to catch the spirit of the rest, right? Love the Lord thy God with all your heart, soul, mind, and body, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love your brother as yourself. The same way you want to be treated, the same way you must treat him, right? When I could do that, when I could understand the spirit behind the commandments, then what? What has happened? Read back from the top.
For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments.
Then you're keeping the commandments. You understand where I'm coming from? Right? Loving your brother is a big part of keeping these commandments. That's how you go understand the rest. You understand? You wouldn't want to commit adultery against your brother if you love your brother. You understand? If you love your sister. You understand? Right? You would never want your sister to become a whore. You understand? If you truly love your sister, you would not want that for her.
Right.
Because you don't want that for yourself. You understand? Who want to see the brother, your brother is a homosexual on the side of the street? Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see the brother as a murderer on the TV and the plaster in your face every 10 minutes because you're black or Hispanic or Native Indian. You understand? They're taking advantage. You understand? They're only showing your face, and when the other nations thief or make some type of embezzlement, and understand? They're using all these big words and call it they're calling it thieving. You understand? They're calling it embezzlement. And they're not showing the face because they're saying they're not paying court yet. But you ain't not paying in court yet and your face on the TV. Plaster, all TV station. You understand where I'm coming from? Nobody wants to see your brother as a murderer. You understand? Or as a thief. Or as an adulterer. You understand? Nobody wants to see that. Because why? You want to love your brother as yourself. You understand? And that is how you know the love of the Most High in you. Right? Continue on the verse, Baba Kusha.
Okay. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments.
That we keep his commandments, go ahead.
And his commandments are not grievous.
And his commandments are not grievous. You understand? He telling them his commandments not grievous. But you know what does make the commandments grievous? When you want to do it by yourself. You understand where I'm coming from? You by yourself. You understand? I don't want to gather with nobody. I could teach myself. You understand where I'm coming from? That's what has happened. And what? It becomes grievous. You understand? Because you don't understand brotherhood is what? Born adversity. You understand where I'm coming from? When people come against you, you will fail. Because they want to break up and do your own thing. You understand? Instead of coming one body and one nation and one people under command GEN.YAHANNA in the I.S.U.P.K. You understand where I'm coming from? That is what does make we fail, and that does make things grievous, and they find it hard. That's why Christians find it hard. You understand? They want to keep the law because it's of the old dispensation, the lying, because they feel it hard to do so, and they want to remain in the lust. You understand? They want to remain eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, and doing all the evilness that they are accustomed doing. You understand? But when you have brotherhood, and brotherhood what is love, and love, part of love is what? Correction. And understand where I'm coming from? And that would make it difficult. And understand? Now we are accountable to somebody. You understand? You're not just on your own by yourself in your own whims and fancies. That is how the enemy will take you away. You understand where I'm coming from? That power, the most I know that power is in what? Brotherhood. That is why he designed that. That is why he said, love your neighbor as yourself. When you love your neighbor as yourself, you will be together. I wouldn't mind being around you because I love my neighbor as myself. You understand? Yeah. And the 3 pimples on the head might give me vex, but I still have to love him. You understand? No matter what. You understand where I'm coming from? That is where it is. You understand where I'm coming from? And that is where we are to build with that love for one another. You understand? I must never want to see you fall. You understand? It has no rejoicing in that. You understand? What good it happened that? None. You understand? That is what this is. You must want the best. I want the best for all my brothers around me. You understand where I'm from? And the same, vice versa, all to one another, all your brothers and sisters, you must want the best for them. The best. You must always want them to have what? A good report. You understand? In the sight of the Most High. That is what we're fighting for. You understand where I'm from? Right? So like always, like when we out on the street, that is what the I.S.U.P.K under command and GEN.YAHANNA fighting for. You understand? That 144,000 to be sealed. You understand? And all those brothers and sisters who come in the truth. You understand? That we live and operate in righteousness. You understand? What our I.S.U.P.K is? Love, a family. You understand? You're in a problem, you could call somebody. You understand where I'm from? When in the world you're by yourself. You understand? TNTech brace you, TSTT brace you, light bill and phone bill. You don't know where to turn. What to do. You understand? Look, just the other day, did the rescue I forget the name of the sisters, but the rescue and the school, the rescue a baby, and understand that baby would be what abandoned in the world, and understand, and probably end up in some home, and understand, right, for some wicked old understand white healthcare system to deal with them, for them to end up now in the same pipeline, going from a degenerate straight into prison, and now that person have a new life, understand, and growing up in a righteous home, understand, and that is what it's about. Love for one another, love for we people, you understand. That is what it is, because this world, they say, what in the last days men will become more lovers of yourself.
Right.
That is what people turn in today. When you look around, nobody caring for one another. Everybody is just gimme, and pushing back everybody. You understand where I'm coming from? Right? It's who can reach first. Right? As we see the crab in the barrel syndrome. You understand? Well, you see one, but somebody started climbing, everybody pulling his foot and pulling back down. You understand? You ain't trying to help him. You don't want to push him up, so you got to tell that he go see what outside. You pull everybody pulling him down. Back. Come down here and stay with me. All are we dying here together. You understand where I'm from? Right? Instead of we operate in unity and wisdom and use that teamwork together, we stay together, pool resources together. You understand? And now and make life better for us as a nation.
Right.
Just the way how we King Yahweh teach us to do. You understand? That is why it's important. That is why that brotherhood is important, right? So like where do you reach on that verse? That was 1 John 5 and 3.
Yeah.
Give me 1 John chapter 2 and verse 8.
The book of 1 John chapter 2 and verse 8. Again, a new commandment I write unto you.
He said, a new commandment I write unto you. Go ahead.
Which thing is true in him and in you, because the darkness is past, and the true light now shineth.
Right. So he said, which I write unto you is a true thing, right? Because the darkness is past and the light is now shining. So he's showing you the light and all this, right? Go ahead.
Verse 10.
Verse 9.
Verse 9. He that said he is in the light.
Right? He that said he's in the light. Go ahead.
And hateth his brother is in darkness, even until now.
Right? So he that said in the light. The light is the truth. You understand? So if you're saying you're in the truth and you hate your brother, right? It's telling you you're in darkness still. So you could be in the truth or believe, sorry, you're in the truth. Right? And you hate your brother, it's telling you you're not in the truth. You're in darkness. Right? Understand? Continue.
Verse 10. He that loveth his brother abideth in the light.
Right? So he that love, but the one that love your brother now, he in the truth, because he understand, it's all about brotherhood. Love your brother. Go ahead.
And there is none occasion of stumbling in him.
And it has no occasion of stumbling in him. Why? You in the brotherhood. And that's where I'm coming from, right? You start to go off, or like the example I was making before, I start to feel like it's more than myself, and I start to go up. Somebody will tie my foot and pull me back down. And that's where I'm coming from. That is it. And tell me the truth. Understand? And then now I have a chance to come back on the path of righteousness. Understand? I will now know the correct way to walk. But when you believe I is it and you're by yourself, it has nobody to pull it down, and you will keep going and going until the time comes you go burst. Or I should say the most I go burst here. You understand? Right? Yeah. So read back from the top of verse 10, Babakisha.
Okay. The book of 1 John chapter 2 and verse 10. He that loveth his brother abideth in the light, and there is none occasion of stumbling in him.
Go ahead.
But he that hateth his brother is in darkness and walketh in darkness.
In darkness, he walketh in darkness. So he know that he's not in the truth. So you could be actually functioning around people who in the truth and you not in the truth. I tell you how serious this is, how serious brotherhood is, how important loving your brother is. Understand? This is a big thing, but sometimes we don't watch it light. Understand? right? Everybody quoting scripture, love your brother as yourself, love your brother, and understand, but it's a serious thing, right? Go ahead.
And knoweth not whither he goeth, because that darkness had blinded his eyes.
Because darkness blind the eyes. And understand where I come from? Brotherhood important. Being wrong one another important. Loving one another important. And understand? Taking on one another burdens important. And understand where I come from? You can't do this by yourself. If we thought the truth was by ourselves, that is the biggest lie Satan cannot tell you. You understand? Coming together is very important. You understand? All them cookouts. You understand? And going out to camp, warring together. You understand where I'm coming from? All them high holy days. This may give the high holy days even more importance. That is brotherhood. That is unity. You understand where I'm coming from? Coming together with one another. You understand where I'm coming from? That is what it is about. You understand? And when you understand this, I wouldn't want to do evil towards you. You understand where I'm coming from? And you will always tell me the truth because you don't want to see me go astray. You understand where I'm coming from? That is what it is. And then I had to take heed to listen. You understand? To know this is my brother correcting me. You understand? And then what we going back in love again with one another. We reconcile. We mend back that gap in the bridge. And be warring again. You understand where I'm from? Yes, you will be mad. The Bible says, be angry and sin not.
Okay.
That is what it is. We're not breaking that brotherhood. Alright? That was the end of verse 11.
Okay.
Right? Go to 2 Samuel verse 1, chapter 1 and verse 26. Baruch Yeshua.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 1 and verse 26. I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan.
Right? So this is David, right? And David said he distressed for thee, his brother Jonathan. Go ahead.
Very pleasant hast thou been unto me.
And he said, his brother Jonathan has been very pleasant unto him. Go ahead.
Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women.
That's right. And understand this was a bigger love than just that. And you know the Christians like you say, or Christians you talk. I say like homosexuality. That is not what I'm talking about. Your mind simple. You understand where I'm from? Right? This is where you there's the love he had. That brotherhood, you see, brotherhood and sisterhood does go beyond the personal that relationship love. You understand where I'm from? Right? That is a man giving up his life for his friend. That is Christ. Christ gave up his life for me. You understand? As I said before, he didn't eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. You understand? He walked this life to perfection, just the way the Most High wanted him to do it. Understand? And he was murdered for it. Right? Go ahead.
Yes, like I said. You know, sometimes our heart doesn't understand, you know, that you can love a brother more than a woman. But a possible good example, you know, is brothers in the military. You know, when brothers in the military and they fight among each other, they leave their wives and their children, they abandon all that just to go and fight alongside their brother in the military.
And just like, and that's a good point to bring in, because just like in Israel, you understand, when we go to fight war, that love, you understand, is for your people. You understand? I'm not lying down home knowing my nation fighting war. You understand where I'm from? I ain't gonna feel good. I lie on my soft bed and them all they fighting. Nah. You understand where I'm from? I have to be on the battlefield with my brothers. I have to be warring too. You understand? The same thing in the same thing like camp. You understand? And I know how it feel. Like if you can't make it to a camp, you feel sick. You understand? Because you want to be there. You want to be fighting that fight with your brothers. You understand? That is a different type of love. You understand? That going beyond. You understand? That going beyond just that going beyond giving a man something. You understand? That the love that the Most High want we to have one for another. Go ahead.
Yes, like I said, you know, when you remember the Kentucky 8.
Exactly. You understand where I'm from? Them fighting, people come against them. Pity if that was in the world. People, they run and go on and split up. You understand? But what? Them decided, you know what? But we fighting to the death. You understand where I'm from? Because what they have, they love one for another. You understand? Nobody leave, everybody stay in order. You understand? And everybody make it back home safe, back to the family. You understand? And that is why the Kentucky 8 is true heroes. You understand? Right. Them is Hollywood does make up heroes, and we in Israel have living heroes, men who actually doing it. You understand where I'm from? That is where it is. And I know what? The next week, understand? They're going back out to fight for the brothers and sisters again. You understand? Because that is the love they have for the people. That is the love that we learning under commanding GEN.YAHANNA in the I.S.U.P.K. Right. You understand? That is a different type of love. A love for your people. Yes, I know it's like Egyptologist, but you know what? I ain't letting it just go down there so. You understand? I'm going out on the street and tell you the truth about Egyptology. You understand? How we is not Africans. You understand? And how all them Africans in Egyptology was homosexual. You understand? All the breakdowns and the hieroglyphics is why people gave all of them breakdown. You understand? That is how they learn that. You understand? Tell you the truth. Go down and see the true tribes. If you really say you're Egyptologist, I would have seen you stretching your lip with a big ring and stretching your ears. But you know not to do that. You understand where I'm coming from? You know not to want to eat your own children. You understand where I'm coming from? That's what I'm showing you. You know you don't want to be a homosexual, but as an Egyptologist, I go wear the clothes. You understand where I'm coming from? Why you go and cut up your skin with razor blade and pour on straw and walk around, you understand, all around the world? These are Egyptologists. Yeah? That's what I'm showing you. You understand? We pick up a whole different culture and picking up the parts we want and the parts we don't want. That is not we culture. You understand? And that is not we heritage. We heritage the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. The heritage is in the Bible. The Bible is a black man book. The Bible is black history. You understand? And under commanding GEN.YAHANNA, here is where we learn brotherhood. Here is where we learn that true love of the Most High. Right? And we'll just read back from verse 4 in 1 Corinthians, Babakosha. 1 Corinthians 13, Babakosha.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 13 and verse 4. Charity suffereth long.
That's right. That's the essence of brotherhood. You understand? That long suffering prayer, brother. Continue.
And is kind. Charity envieth not.
Okay. When you put these ingredients together, that is true brotherhood. You understand? Nothing can break that. Go ahead.
Charity vaunteth not itself. Is not puffed up.
Not puffed up.
Do not behave itself unseemly.
What the incorrect behavior. You understand? The proper behavior for a priest, the proper behavior for a king. You understand? And the proper behavior one to another. That is what it is. Imagine your behavior being brought into question. You understand where I'm coming from? Meaning that I can't do anything I want. You understand? Not because I'm not eating pork, shit, camel, lobster, mean I could behave how I want and just call anybody, hey, come here. Never see that in the I.S.U.P.K. under commanding GEN.YAHANNA.
Right.
Understand? Always to water. Understand? Barakasha. Thank you, please. Understand where I'm coming from? Always. Go ahead.
Seek it not our own.
We ain't doing nothing on we own it. We ain't doing not on the side slide. You understand where I'm coming from? Everything is for we people and for we nation. Go ahead.
Is not easily provoked. Thinketh no evil.
We easily provoke and you're not thinking no evil. You understand? That's the pureness of brotherhood. Natural love one for another. You have a problem, you go to a brother one-on-one and sort it out, trash it out. As big men and big women. Go ahead.
rejoiceth not in iniquity.
And we don't rejoice in it, we hate iniquity. And that's where I'm from. All right? It say what? Job was a man that what? Escheweth evil, he hated evil. And that's where I'm from. He want no part of that. Right? Go ahead.
But rejoiceth in the truth. Beareth all things.
That's right.
Believeth all things.
Taking the burdens on one another. And as I'm continue.
Believeth all things. Hopeth all things. Endureth all things.
And we enjoyed all things. That's what the brotherhood. These ingredients is what is what brotherhood have that the world do have. You understand? That is why it's important for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to come together. And the most I say, it never fail.
Right.
You understand? That the recipe give away. The recipe give away is brotherhood. I would say brotherhood is a weapon. And the reason why it's a weapon, that weapon do fail. Now, when you pull the trigger on that weapon, you get shoot. Bow. You understand? You ain't gonna get no coil reflux and the bullet sticking in the magazine or in the cartridge. You understand? You're sure when that shot busts, that is it. It busts. You understand? And that is how serious it is. You understand? And when you look around, when you really look at it, if your Facebook fail, your YouTube, you understand? You just strip here everything. All the things we like, you understand? Views and likes, you understand? And comments and fire. You understand where I'm coming from? You understand? That was a good class and all them kind of things. Strip away all that. And when we come down to the last piece of bread, sharing and the whole world burning down on fire, you understand? What you have? All you have is what? Your brothers. That is all. You understand? The people around you, your nation. That is what will count. You understand where I'm from? And that's what Christ saying. If you truly have love for the Most High, you will live in brotherhood. You will live with that love one for another. You understand?
Right.
And with that, I will pass the class over to priest and officer your card.
Security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K out of 1 West 125th Street at New York under commanding Gen.YAHANNA. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or a sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to share themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or a sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will call each other. After this 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers 18 and 21 and Malachi chapter 3 from verse 8 to 10. 10% of any penny, any increase the Lord gives you, you give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever you would like to give. Upcoming Holy Convocation, which is the 25th day of the 9th month, space of 8 days, Wednesday, December the 9th. You can find this in 1 Maccabees chapter 4 from verse 52 to 61. Remind Akim and Akwatian to check on social media such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for I.S.U.P.K events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he needs to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, like shirts, like pants, like headbands, or scarf. And with that we say, imagine. On the upper top, with the rise and face east. You're going to say the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabashemaya, Kodash, Kaya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwatka, Taba'a, Ratazaka, Kaya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Kaya, Bashemaya, Watananawa, Lakam, Kal, Yawam, Wasalaknawa, Kawawatnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kawawatinawa, Wala'a, Tabayanawa, Manasaya Abal, Awashina, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Wa'ala, Watapara, Iwalamia, Aman. What we said in the English was, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. We're going to say the hakak or the power. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Babokashah, Natanalawa, Hakak, Narapa, Kalmadawa, Hakak, Lataha, Matazariah, Hakak, Lahakoyam, Matayam, Hakak, Irakawat, Matamela, Lagarashan, Bahashem, Yahweh Wada Aman. What we said in the English was Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh. Please give us the power. The power to heal. All manner of sickness. And all manner of disease. The power to cleanse the lepers. The power to raise the dead. The power against unclean spirits. To cast them out. In the name of Yahweh. Thank you. So be it. We're going to say the blessings. Rakata Yahweh, Why Yahweh Shai, Why Makaala, Why Alahayim, Matazabia, Alawap Yahanna, Asaranya, Akwatazayan Yam, Akayayan Yam, Wa'akwatib, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Wada Aman. In the English, what we said was, Bless you, Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai, and Michael, and the angels, Commander GEN.YAHANNA, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai. Thank you. So be it. This is the I.S.U.P.K curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh, King of heaven and earth, and all things living, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai. Listen to us now, right now. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen that speak against us, thy prophets, the teachers, the princes, the priests, the Israelite brothers, and the school. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen, and shake loose the treasure of the rich of Israel, that refuse to give to the school, force their riches to enter into thy sanctuary, send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the Edomites, and the nation, and their drug dealers, the court system, the prison system, Planned Parenthood, all the governments of our enemies, Amalek synagogues and armies, Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, Islam, Christianity, Egyptology, militia, Ku Klux Klan, Aryan Nation, Skinheads, Fuzzy Komatazi, gay movement, lesbian movement, spies, workers of witchcraft, NASA space program, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Wall Street, open up the internet, and the airwaves, the cable access channels, and the radio channels. Convict the spirits of any of thy people many of thy people
that seek to stop us
seek to stop us
and bring swift destruction
bring swift destruction
to all the heathen
all the heathen
that stand in the way
stand in the way
or try to stop us
try to stop
from
us
broadcasting your words
from broadcasting your
throughout
word
the planet Earth.
through the planet Earth.
Let loose all the plagues,
Let's lose all the plagues,
cause them to go to and fro
cause them to go to and
through the
fro
earth
to the earth
and consume them,
and consume them.
and let the plagues shake the house of the thief
shake the house of the thief
and the murderer. Let Yahushua, Michael, and Gabriel come down with the flying saucers and punish all the heathen that come up against us as we speak thy word. Cause it to be known by all that it is the angels that have done it. Cause it to be spread through the media. Cause it to be spread through the whole world. Cause them to shake at thy coming. In the name of Yahushua. Thank you. So be it.
What we're going to say is bless Israel. Yahweh, Bahashem,
Yahushua, Barak, Shalom, Saparia, Barak, Rapa, Magan, Hagan, Commander GEN.YAHANNA, Generals, Captains, Officers, Troopers, Sisters, Children, the destroyed of Israel,
I.S.U.P.K and Tobago,
I.S.U.P.K
worldwide,
John family, Alexis family, Koto family, Philip family, Yakal, Matizar, Radah. Commander GEN.YAHANNA, Generals, Captains, Officers, Troopers, Sisters, Children, only destroyed of Israel, all those fighting come to the truth, Officer Galawan and family, Officer Swapialan family, Officer Makwayakan family, Officer Makako Balan family, Officer Yakaran family, Officer Tazawan family, Officer Shan family, Officer Barriatan family.
Ba'ashem Yahushai.
Tawada. What you said in the English was Lord, in the name of Yahushua, bless us, and Israel, and the school, bless, heal, shield, protect our loved ones, in the name of Yahushua. Thank you. So be it.
So, let's give the teacher a courtesy salute. I Majam Shabbat, Majam, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Barakatah. Alimata, Sa, let's give the sisters online a courtesy salute. I Majam Shabbat, Majam, Barak, Yahweh Shamanatan Ba'ashem Yahushai. Yadimata, class dismissed.